Hi everyone, another day, another handheld, with this one being the E6. The E6 has been known for a little while, but has been delayed a couple of times during the QA process. It's now out though, but it's worth noting that also announced is a Plus version of the E6 that's due to release somewhere between March and April of this year. The Plus version will allegedly look the same, though come with a purple colour shell and come with an RK3566, wireless enabled, and a screen that's double the resolution and touch enabled. But that's for later on during the year, so let's focus on the standard E6. So, according to its listings anyway, the entry E6 comes with an RK3366 chip, which gives us support up to some, but far from all of the Nintendo 64 catalogue. It's got 2 gigs of RAM, a 5-inch screen with a 854 by 480 resolution. It's got a 5000 mAh battery and weighs in at around 265 grams. Its stock firmware seems to be based on Android, but is an incredibly locked down version, but we'll have a closer look at that later. And I've got to say that straight out of the box, the E6 does give off a pretty good first impression. Considering its price, it's currently hovering around the $45 to $50 range. It's got pretty good build quality throughout. Its shell design is pretty good too, with an almost mini Steam Deck kind of look to it, that I think looks great, and in black anyway, and is actually quite comfy in the hands too. On top, we've got the stacked shoulder buttons, which we always like to see, although the triggers are buttons and not analog triggers. We've got the volume, 2 USB-C ports, micro SD port, and the power button as well. Other than some ventilation speaker holes, we've got a clear back to the shell and have nothing underneath or to the sides too. So other than the standard control scheme, we do have Hall effect joysticks on the front, as well as a menu button and some LED rings around the joysticks and the bottom edges that we unfortunately don't have any control of. But all in all, I've got to say it has got a very good first impression. Moving on to the controls though, the first thing that will stick out is certainly the circular D-pad design, which is unfortunately as unreliable as it looks. There's far too much float and not enough precision given to the ring design that really stopped me from enjoying fighting games on the E6 especially. General platform isn't too bad to be fair, but it does add a somewhat needless barrier to the controls that could have easily been avoided with a decent D-pad. The joysticks aren't too bad, but they do suffer from not having enough travel in pretty much every direction. It is mostly fine for PlayStation 1 games, but the Nintendo 64 games do seem to suffer a little from missing out on the precision there. The face buttons feel good and an alright size, but again suffer from having too little travel and easily recess into the shell with little resistance. I do like the shoulder buttons, and to the E6's credit, it's very comfortable in the hands, and a lot of the fundamentals are okay here. With analog triggers, a bit more traditional D-pad, and a minor tweaks to the face button joysticks, there'd be a lot to like here. Here's hoping that the E6 Plus iteration takes the time just to improve the controls a little bit here and there, and it will actually be a good handheld in the hands. Moving on to the stock firmware experience, the E6 has a very stripped back and basic experience that is easy enough laid out and very simple enough to use that if the E6 was your very first retro gaming handheld experience, you'd be able to figure out everything with no confusion. We've got a tile for each emulator and a simple ROM list underneath that, with the ability to favourite any game into a favourite collection. Other than that, there's a pretty responsive and working search, which I was generally a bit of a surprise to see, and while in-game you can restart, save state and change the controls, and that's pretty much about it. There's no access to RetroArch, Retro Achievement cheats or anything like that, which is a bit of a shame, but to be fair, at least what is there works and works pretty well. So I'll cut some gameplay now and summarise back up at the end. In many ways, the E6 reminds me of the GameMax A380 that came out a few years ago, as it's not actually a bad handheld overall, but has a good few key areas to improve upon to make it a great handheld, and that has come out in a time where it's far easier to recommend its competition over the E6. With that said, I am hoping that the E6 Plus coming out in a few months gives a real opportunity to build on the basics of what's here, and I'll certainly be keeping a close eye on what the E6 Plus could deliver. That's it for now though, thanks so much for watching.